The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everybody and welcome to the DINA Disciple Webinar. Elena is here and she will start her meditation in just a moment. Go ahead, Elena.
Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar, and as usual we will start with a short alignment. So please make yourself comfortable. Withdraw your attention from the lower sense perceptions and achieve stillness in the three lower fields of the personality: physical, emotional, mental. Then raise the consciousness into the head. Carry the consciousness upward through the astral body and the mind to the soul. Identify the personality consciousness with the soul consciousness and realize they are one. Assume the attitude of the observer upon the mental plane and throw soul energy down into the center at the base of the spine. And then raise the soul energy slowly via the centers in the spine. And via the two centers in the head, up into the soul body upon the higher mental levels. Recognize the personality is aligned with the soul, forming one unit. And there is a fusion of the individual soul with the group soul on the level of the soul on its own plane. Then link the center, the heart center in the spine, with the heart center upon the mental plane, where we find the response to group vibration. And feel the group love uniting all the members of the group into one unit. We sound the Om together as a group. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, I just switched it over to you so you can show it. There you go.
Thank you. You have been instructed to, or advised to, read the instruction for the July 1937, but in order to refresh our memory and remind ourselves, I am putting that instruction on your screen, and we will read it together. It is found in DINA 1, page 520. And this is what DK says to this disciple. How can I put your problem to you so clearly that you will accept the stated facts and live by them? In no way except by giving you information, suggesting to you that you act upon it and wait for the results, acting with the intelligence which outstandingly is yours, and the persistence you have shown throughout this life. Your mental body is on the fifth ray, and therefore you have intensely analytical mind. I would, however, remind you that you are analytical but not discriminating. Ponder on this distinction. Your astral body is governed by the sixth ray and is as yet largely subservient to the will of the personality. This leads you to devote yourself to your personality surroundings and to the conditions which karmically you have evoked. Your physical body is also on the sixth ray, which makes it, and therefore your brain, predominantly the servant of your astral body, but it also makes you intuitive or astral buddhic. Therefore, I would have you note that in your case, there is an exception to the usual rule controlling the physical body. For very few physical bodies are on the sixth ray, as is yours. And then he put the rays together: the soul ray, the second ray of love wisdom, the personality ray, the sixth ray of devotion, the ray of the mind, the fifth ray of concrete science, the ray of the astral body, the sixth ray of devotion, the ray of the physical body, the sixth ray of devotion. It will be clear to you, therefore, that much of your problem can be summed up by the recognition of the relation existing between the personality, the astral body, and the physical body. The physical body and the astral body are therefore automatically the servants of the personality. Yet the relation between the sixth and the second rays is so close that the problem of your soul is not insuperable in this life. Okay, so This is what he is telling her about her race. Now I will put on the screen her chart. This is her natal chart. You see in the left-hand corner there for the new people who are today participating, where on top are the race, which we have just read in the instruction, and the C.D.P stand C for courage, D for detachment, and P for pure love, which is her development formula for that life, to develop these qualities. So what we would do, we start with some information about how to approach the race, astrologically looking at them, and our own race. As you know, the focal point of today's webinar is the discussion of the race of this disciple as given to her by Master D.K. And to look to what degree we are able to identify them in her astrological chart. And this brings us to the first very important question. Can we discover our own race from the astrological chart? Now, the answer to this question varies among esoteric astrologers. My own understanding is that the race transmitted through the astrological signs and the planets are additional energies to our own race, which we need to ascertain ourselves. We, as aspiring disciples, will find it necessary to discover not only our soul and personality race, but also the race of our three lower bodies. And DK says, to this end, we must add the astrological energies, and primarily the energy of the sun sign, as it conditions our personality, and of the rising sign or the ascendant, as it seeks to stimulate the personality to be responsive to the soul, and as working out soul's purpose through personality cooperation. He also says that it is essential the astrologer must ascertain prior to casting the horoscope of a person his approximate stage on the path of evolution, and to this end the study of the race is necessary. Somebody interfering with noise, please make sure you make yourself mute. Thank you. So what he is actually implying, that we need to know the person before we read his chart. And thus we should endeavor to establish his race. If he is an average person, we aim to ascertain his personality ray. And if he is a disciple, we should endeavor to primarily ascertain his soul and personality race, and then construct the delineation of the chart around this race. Now, why we also need to discover the personality ray for a disciple? Because a disciple is still working with personality issues, and its integration is going on through a process of the first 3 initiations: first, second, and third, where we need to utilize the formula of integration and also the formula of fusion at the later stages, where the soul is fusing with the personality, with the integrated personality. Another thing we need to consider is turning of the wheel in 2 opposite directions in consciousness. One in the clockwise or personality direction, and the other in the anti-clockwise direction of the soul consciousness. And it is the grounding of these 2 wheels which creates the points of tensions prior to the initiations. And so here, the clockwise direction of the wheel of personality is going this way, and the wheel of the soul consciousness that way, in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay? So the lives of the personality of the form proceed in a normal wheel, while a disciple focused in the soul consciousness is governed by the wheel proceeding anti-clockwise. Okay? We have also, by analogy, reflection of the process of the soul personality fusion. Now, as we know that when DK is talking about these 2 wheels, he takes Aries, the sign Aries, as a starting point, from which point, you know, one wheel going that way and the other that way. What I have decided to test through this webinar for the first time is to take the Cancer ascendant, the ascendant sign of the ascendant, as the initiating point of the wheel, one way or the other way, just to discover, you see, what kind of energetic level, particularly the ray energies, would come up if we use the ascendant instead of Aries. Because you see, Aries, we could take every one of us as a starting point. But we all have different ascendants. Even if we have the same Cancer ascendant like here, but you know, we can have all different ascendants. And the division of the houses are automatically different for each person. And also the placement of the planets. So I thought it would be interesting, you see, as we are looking at the race of this disciple, to also consider this turning of these two wheels. Okay? Now, the personality ray is a combination of three energies of the three lower bodies, which produce the force of personality ray. Through the medium of the interrelation and through the process of integration. Okay? You see, if any of us want to establish even the physical ray, we would have a problem. Even the mental ray to establish is very difficult. Then comes the personality ray, and then comes the soul ray. There were many disciples in DK's group who have mixed the mental ray. They thought it was the personality way and the other way around, for example. Okay? So to establish one's ray, once we start to really work consciously on that process, it's a very long process. Okay? A ray type, which is usually the soul ray, doesn't emerge only when there is some measure of meditative work, spiritual work, of advanced development. That is why in the average person who maybe doesn't even know he has a soul, its energy is not in evident recognition. So the soul ray cannot be identified. And so it is also with all of us. To what degree we have established the soul contact, and to what degree the strength of that soul energy is present consciously in us, and we identify that energy and even working with it, to that degree we are able to identify the soul ray. And obviously, we need to have a pretty good knowledge of the ray energies. And that means we need to know the soul psychology. Okay? And that is why we need to know the person psychologically, identifying the soul and personality rays prior to looking at the chart. Now, this disciple has been given her rays by the Master DK, who has known this disciple very well through a number of lives. And so that's the rays given to her are 100% correct. And following her instructions from DK over the past 27 webinars, today is the 28th webinar, we have also learned ourselves something about this disciple. And now we have a great opportunity to find out if and to what extent we would locate these ray energies in her astrological chart, which has been rectified also over the years. I would say I have started the rectification in 2002 or something around that time. Okay? Through her instructions, primarily, and lately, over the past 4 years maybe, from some of the available information about her personal life, which were not many. Okay. The another thing is that planets, same as human beings, are conditioned by the race on their various levels, like we are. And so again, today we have the opportunity to check some of the hypothetical rays in the chart of this disciple. Okay? So what we start with her second ray soul. And we would examine the chart for its present, if any. Okay? Now, to this end, we would find valuable to consider the rising sign as a primary energy related to the soul ray, because the ascendant deals with the soul's purpose. It's the most important energy for a disciple. Okay? Now, a Cancer transmitting the ray 3 and 7. What we would look for all the aspects formed to the ascendant as a first thing. Okay? So we would look at the wheel turning anti-clockwise, because we're dealing with the soul consciousness here of the disciple. Okay? And so when we start from the Cancer ascendant going this way, we would find that the first planet which makes a direct aspect to that ascendant is Saturn. Saturn in Pisces at 4 degrees 31, making a trine aspect to the 4 degree Cancer 25. Very close aspect. Okay? Now, this immediately also relates through Neptune, which rules Pisces, where the Saturn is, and its esoteric ruler of Cancer. It's strengthening this aspect of the Saturn. Okay? Now, Saturn is conditioned hypothetically on its soul level and monadic level by the third ray, which resonate with the third ray transmitted through Cancer. The next planet is Mercury in Aries at 8 degree 45, which is making a square to that Cancer ascendant. And Mercury is conditioned by the fourth ray on its soul level, because now we are primarily concerned with the soul level energies and higher. Okay? Because we are dealing with the soul ray and a wheel turning anti-clockwise of soul consciousness. Okay? The planet Neptune is conditioned by 6th ray on its soul level and by 2nd ray on its monadic level, hypothetically speaking now. Okay? And we see that Neptune is at 2 degree Taurus, there 17, making sextile to the Cancer ascendant. This is a very important aspect because Neptune is the soul planet conditioning that ascendant, the most important planet in relation to the soul purpose. Okay? Now, the next planet is Venus at 4 degrees Gemini 54, making semi-sextile aspect to that ascendant. Now, Venus is conditioned on its soul level by the 5th ray, but on its highest level, the monadic level, it expresses 2nd and 6th rays, which are closely related with buddhi, the intuition. And you know, the purpose behind all the activity of the 5th ray is the revelation of love, which is seen in the relation between the 5th, 2nd, and 6th rays. Okay? Of Venus. We also note that all these aspects which we just looked at on the reversed or soul wheel to the ascendant are formed on the reversed wheel. They are all coming together from that direction to the ascendant. Okay? And this is significant. Okay? That all the aspects of these planets are formed on reversed wheel to that ascending degree. And that's why that degree has to be pretty well rectified in order to arrive at this. Okay? It means also that the energies of this planet on their own levels, the rays, which form this aspect, play an important role in fulfillment of her soul purpose in that incarnation. Now, 2 of these planets, Mercury and Venus, are the only 2 planets in the whole chart which are placed in powerful esoteric placements. It means Mercury is a soul ruler of Aries, where it is found, and Venus is the soul ruler of Gemini. So the aspects to that ascendant is strengthened by this placement automatically. Okay? The planet Venus and Saturn, which are found in Pisces and Gemini, are the only planets which are from these, which we have considered, found in the signs of the 2nd ray triangle, which is Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini. Okay? And this is strengthened even by the square aspect between that Venus and Saturn. And these energies have to be considered all in relation to the soul ray and the ascendant. Okay? And there are these aspects applying, they are applying square within 23 minutes. Okay? So this is a very close aspect, and including those 2 planets to the ascendant. Okay? Now, Mercury, Venus, and Neptune, these planets which we are just seen making these aspects, the conditioning rays of these planets are on the 246 line, reflecting her astral Buddhic line from the soul level now considered, and are also the rulers of the Buddhic plane. Okay? Now Mercury is in a, as I already said, strong soul placement in Aries, indicates the highest abstract levels of the mental plane, which is ruled by Aries also, okay? Where we find the body of the soul, or egoic lotus, and where she was building her garden, okay? Now the next point we will consider in relation to the soul ray is the esoteric ruler of the ascendant and its aspect. And we know already, we mentioned that it is the Neptune, right? Which is the esoteric ruler of the Cancer ascendant, which beside the sextile to that ascendant is also making aspect to Chiron by conjunction, okay? And as you see, the Chiron is moving towards that Venus. It means it's applying aspect on the reversed wheel. Now Chiron, it's conditioned hypothetically by the second ray on its monadic level. It is a healing planet. It is a planet which adjusts many levels. It represents many things depending from what perspective we are looking at it, okay? Neptune is also making a quincunx to Jupiter in Sagittarius. But this time on the ordinary wheel, not on the reversed wheel. And this is an interesting point to notice, okay? The Jupiter is in retrograde motion. It means it's moving this way, okay? Retrograding to Scorpio. It is not moving in direct motion to Sagittarius, okay? And Jupiter is conditioned by the second ray on its soul level. And where I was looking now, not to mix up the wheels, that separating sextile on the reversed wheel, not separating square, not sextile. This is what I try to reach here, that the Jupiter is making aspect to that Saturn on the reversed wheel in Pisces, where Neptune and Jupiter are the rulers. Jupiter rules Pisces and Neptune rules Pisces. So these relationships between two wheels turning in opposite direction bring these energies together, and it's very important to note because it gives us a lot of information. Okay? Here we have the most important soul energies brought together on the two wheels moving in opposite direction. Okay? Through the separating aspects between the Jupiter, her second ray soul planet, and Neptune, the soul ruler of her ascendant. This is the most important aspect in relation to the second ray soul. Okay? And Neptune, the soul ruler of Cancer ascendant, facing Saturn in sextile aspect on the ordinary wheel. You see, challenging her to face the past life's thought forms which keep her in prison and fears for those she loves. That's why the aspect is on the personality will direction. Okay? She has to work with that Saturn energy in that Pisces, which is tremendous challenging process. Okay? To free herself, she has to utilize the first ray conditioning Saturn and Pluto, ruler of Pisces, okay, through the first rays here. She needs to utilize the first ray. Because the first ray rule both Saturn and Pluto on the personality level. Okay? And that's why the challenge here through that Neptune sextile to that Saturn. Okay? So we have a combination of aspects happening on both wheels, which the energies of the planet, of the rays of the planets, and her own rays have to be synthesized together, which we are not going to do now because that is a very consuming process. We are just looking how to approach this. Okay? You see the first ray, utilization has to shift the level of the personality to the higher aspects of its energies. You know, personality also have higher level of its energies. Okay? And to bring into expression the energies of the soul. And this was the holding process of these energies, which she had a problem of dealing with her powerful six-ray force, conditioning her on 3 levels, which she already was trying to shift for the past 3 incarnations. This was her 4th, and she failed again to fulfill the soul purpose and has to deal with it again in the next life. And this is telling us how very difficult it is to estimate how many lives we can stay on one level. Okay? Now, the next point we need to consider in relation to the soul ray is the sacred planet of the soul ray and its aspects. And as we do know, it is the Jupiter, sacred planet of the second ray, conditioning her soul ray, second ray soul. And beside the quincunx, which we already discussed, to Neptune, it is also making opposition, you see, to the Venus Mars conjunction and square that Saturn, making a T square. This is the challenging T square, you see, which is operating on both wheels, personality and the soul. Okay? The next point which we need to consider in relation to that soul ray is the planet or planets which find their exaltation in the sign of the ascendant, in this case Cancer. Okay? Now there are two planets which find their exaltation in Cancer, and they are Jupiter and Neptune. Now that is unbelievable how these energies are falling together, because they are the most important energies conditioning her life on the soul level. The esoteric ruler of her Cancer ascendant Neptune, and Jupiter, her second ray soul ruler, as a sacred planet, with both of them having the exaltation in Cancer. Okay? The exaltation of the Jupiter in Cancer is the most important indication for the soul ray soul. Okay? Now the next point to consider is the triangle of the signs transmitting the ray of the soul, and endeavor to find the linking relation or flow of energies between these three signs through the esoteric or soul rulers and the esoteric or soul dispositors and their aspects. Okay? Now the triangle for the second ray soul on the reversed wheel of the soul consciousness, now starting from the ascendant, is Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini. Okay? And its esoteric or soul rulers are the moon veiling Vulcan in Virgo. Okay? Vulcan, Pluto ruling Pisces as the soul ruler, and Venus, which is here placed very powerfully as a soul ruler, ruling the Gemini. Okay? So when we are looking at the moon, we take the moon where it is placed in Scorpio, but interpret it in terms of the veiling energies of Vulcan or Neptune. And that, you know, is a decision which has to be by the astrologer ascertained by knowing the disciple, the person. And for C.D.P, we would take the Neptune, okay? With her powerful six-ray force and astral body glide, this is the energy which would link with Pluto as the soul ruler of Pisces, okay, which is strengthened by the moon placement in Pisces decanate of Scorpio, okay, confirming that it is the Neptune, particularly that the MC, the Dharma, is found in Cancer decanate of Pisces, which is ruled by both planets, Moon and Neptune. You see how these energies are now considered with the rays becoming confirmed as we have worked with these disciples, over the many webinars, okay? Obviously from a different perspective, looking at these planets, houses, and aspects, as we are doing now, purely from the rays energies, okay? But there are no direct aspects between the esoteric rulers, you see, of this second ray triangle, which is a very important to consider here. Usually some astrologers say that the secondary soul planet could be discovered from astrology when there is a direct flow of energies on these secondary triangles between these rulers. Now this will not confirm here for this disciple, okay? Because there is no direct aspect between Moon, Pluto, and Venus, which are the conditioning esoteric rulers of the second ray triangle. Now, when we look at the soul dispositors, we see that Mars is the esoteric dispositor of the moon, ruling Scorpio on soul level, Mars. Vulcan is the esoteric dispositor of the Pluto in Taurus. And Venus has its own powerful placement as a planet. It has no esoteric dispositor because it's placed as a soul ruler in Gemini, okay? Now, when we look at the aspects now between these three esoteric or soul dispositors, we would see that Pluto, the esoteric ruler of Pisces, disposited by Mars, are in conjunction. Okay? And Mars is conjuncting Venus. So where we actually find very powerful relation is in the esoteric dispositing planets of this triangle. Okay? So we're getting some new information here. We are not able to locate Vulcan, but there is a possible placement of Vulcan in Aries. Okay? But because we don't know its exact degree, we cannot see what kind of aspects that Vulcan would make. Okay? But you see, Vulcan is the dispositor, esoteric dispositor of two planets here, of three planets. The Neptune, important planet, Pluto, and Mars. Okay? So it plays very important role for this disciple with the first ray energy on its soul level, Vulcan. And those of you who follow these webinars know we have talked about her necessity to utilize the first ray. Okay? And the Aries transmit first ray. So Vulcan in Aries would be very powerfully placed from the perspective of the first ray. Okay? And the first ray link Vulcan to Mars, which is also ruled by the first ray on a soul level. We're considering this as a great possibility here with the Mars, being conditioned by first ray on its soul level. But still, looking at it hypothetically, but seeing it here, you know, the hypotheses are, you know, very close. And both are linked to Pluto, first ray planet, which is ruled by first ray on personality level. So we have two first ray planets on soul level and one on personality level, first ray. Okay? But the predominating first ray here is the Vulcan, which is dispositor of that Pluto. Okay? In Taurus. Now, what this indicates, at least to me, is the presence of the first ray as a subray on the lower bodies of C.D.P, most probably on the mental body, with a link to the will of the soul and the head center ruled by Vulcan. Okay? Because we must remember that the three lower bodies have many rays on their levels. Okay? That is another area, you know, which we are not going to go into. Now, when we consider this second ray triangle, it would express primarily through the sixth house. Why? Because that's where we find the most important planet is the second ray soul ruler of this triangle as a primary planet. Even with its exaltation in Cancer, it adds a power to it. So this would be the area where that second ray energies of that triangle would find their expression. Now, we note that if we follow the second ray triangle from the ascendant on the reversed wheel, it conditions the IC axis, Virgo, and the MC axis, Dharma, in Pisces there, right? Forming the base of the triangle, the secondary triangle. And the 12th house, Gemini house, here which is a Piscean house, we find the peak of that triangle on the reversed wheel going, right? Where we find the powerful placement of that Venus forming the opposition to that Jupiter in that 6th house, where that triangle is primarily expressed. Okay? Now we know that every triangle is in constant movement or rotation during process of reincarnation or rebirth, which is ruled by Cancer. And it is the energy at the peak of a triangle which indicates the focal point of influence in that particular incarnation for this disciple. Okay? Relating to that 6th house of that Jupiter. Now, what is interesting here is that the peak of the second ray triangle falls in the intercepted sign of Gemini in that 12th house. Okay? Linking the triangle to the intercepted sign of Sagittarius, where we find that second ray soul ruler Jupiter. Okay? And what do we have here? We have a creation of the mutable cross. Okay? Which is the Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Gemini on the reversed wheel. Now, in Esoteric Astrology, page 335, we are told that through the study of the mutable cross, we can arrive at the significance of disciples, of group activity, and of the second initiation. And look how we arrived at this mutable cross on a soul consciousness wheel. And this disciple became an accepted disciple in that incarnation and was facing the second initiation. The group activity is indicated by that Neptune, esoteric ruler of her Cancer ascendant, of the Pisces midheaven, and Cancer decanate of that Pisces, okay, of the Dharma, and Pluto, which is the esoteric ruler of Pisces, okay, they are found in 11th house of the group, of the group's processes and activities. New group of world service is one of them. Okay? And adding up the Jupiter is the esoteric ruler of Aquarian energy, of the 9th or Sagittarian house, where the Jupiter is placed in Sagittarius, indicating a one-pointed direction towards the vision goal, the Dharma, the highest point, the goal. Okay? When we study and investigate this cross, this mutable cross, from its esoteric and spiritual importance on the reversed wheel, we will arrive not only at a deeper understanding of this disciple, but also at the deeper understanding of the significance of the intercepted signs, Gemini Sagittarius, which we have already somewhat discussed in previous webinars. Okay? And here we are discovering and added information which we can synthesize and utilize in deeper understanding of the process. Okay? And in Esoteric Astrology page 339, we are told that on the reversed wheel, the result of this related Sagittarius on reversed wheel, Gemini, because on the ordinary wheel, the polarity would be going Gemini to Sagittarius, but on the reversed wheel, okay, there is one pointed soul effort indicated in this intercepted signs here, this polarity, spiritually directed activity, and demonstrated readiness for initiation, where the waning power of the form or personality is receding, and waxing of the life of the soul is in process. And this we can recognize in the life of this disciple. Okay? Now, BL, excuse me.
Yes.
What is the time in process going up to now?
It's, you've been in it 1 hour and 8 minutes.
Right. So I can proceed, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we also have a further relation to the 246 line, where the Cancer ascendant is esoterically related through two 6-ray planets, which are Mars and Neptune, to Scorpio, right? Mars and Neptune to Scorpio, through the 6-ray, which transmit the 4th ray. Okay, Scorpio transmits 4th ray. So we have two planets conditioning or transmitting a 6th ray, and then we have the 4th ray, and they are both in Taurus, another 4th ray transmission, and Scorpio. Taurus, Scorpio, 4th ray, and two planets transiting the 6th ray. Okay? And obviously, the 2nd ray is indicated also on the Neptune level, on the higher level of the Neptune, and as we have seen it through the other planets. Now here, in Scorpio, we find the 4th ray planet, Moon, okay, which is the ruling planet esoterically of Virgo, which transmit the second and sixth ray. Okay? So we have here relation through these planetary contacts to the three water signs, which are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, because Pisces also transmits second and sixth ray. Okay? This is the continuous relationship through the ray energies to the 246 line, which is the astral Buddhic line of this disciple. Okay? Now we do know, at least those who follow these webinars, that she utilized the fourth ray in creating of her garden, full of beautiful flowers of many colors, for example. Okay? Creating that garden through that fourth ray, which implicates the planet Venus, which hypothetically is conditioned by fourth ray on its mental body, and she was creating the garden on a mental plane. Okay? So this would be all the energies we would need to consider when we are trying to look at the presence and the extent of the presence of the second ray soul. Okay? We are not looking at the chart, to discover that ray. We already know the ray. We are simply checking its presence and to what extent we would find it. And as we see, there is a powerful presence of that second ray, but there is also some second ray on a lower level of the personality expression, going on the personality wheel there, as we have seen. And this was her issue, you see. She had to resolve, okay, which was blocking her in achieving that detachment from the emotional lower energies of that personality. Okay? And that Saturn is a primary in that Pisces, okay, in this aspect, looking at it, okay? So we have learned actually quite a bit through following these ray energies, through the aspects, through the levels of the rays on the planets themselves, okay? So when we look at the presence of the personality ray now in the chart, we will proceed more or less in a similar way as we did with the soul ray, but we substitute the ascendant for the sun sign, which for this disciple is Sun in Aries, which we are told hold the secret of the personality ray. Okay? Many of us as esoteric astrologer trying to figure out what he actually telling us by this. Okay? So we will utilize primarily the ordinary wheel, the personality wheel, okay, in relation to the personality ray, okay, and we will use the orthodox or personality rulers, okay. So what we first try to find out would be all the aspects formed to the sun, which probably sun is veiling on personality level Jupiter, okay. So we will also test this when we can interpret the sun in terms of Jupiter, like we did with the moon, interpreting it from the veiling Neptune, okay? Because you see, the sun on a soul level is veiling Neptune, particularly in relation to Leo and the initiatory process, and on the monadic level, it veils Uranus, okay? Now, it is, remember that both moon and the sun always veil planets, okay? So what do we see here in a way of aspects to the sun, okay? Now, if we start on the ordinary wheel of personality from the ascendant, the first planet which would make aspect to that sun would be Venus. Interestingly enough, has been involved also on the soul wheel, is making semi-square to that sun on the ordinary wheel, okay, moving that way. And both, you know, the veiling Jupiter by the sun and Venus are conditioned by the second ray, okay, indicating here some of the C.D.P weaknesses, such as self-pity, inferiority complex, and over-attachment. Because you see, all ray has its higher and lower qualities, strength and weaknesses, okay? By the way, those of you who are very careful on the detail, when I said second ray, veiling Jupiter here, and Venus has a soul ray, the fifth ray, but I am taking the higher second ray and the lower second ray. You see, from this perspective, I'm looking at the second ray, which is the lower ray on the Venus. Okay. So now the other planet which makes aspect to that sun is Pluto. Okay. By semi-sextile to the sun. You see? 20 to 21 degrees, from Taurus to Aries. Now, Pluto is conditioned, as we have already seen, is the first ray on the personality level. Okay? And the presence of the first ray going through Aries makes a powerful relation between that Sun in Aries to that Pluto first ray conditioning on the personality level. Okay? For me, this is a further confirmation of a first ray as a subray on one of the lower bodies of the personality. Okay? In this aspect, we would have the veiled Jupiter to be considered, okay, on its personality ray. And here, so far, the hypothetical ray on Jupiter personality level, there is a disagreement about with the other astrologers as to, you know, if it is the 6th ray or is it a 7th ray. Okay? So we are leaving that open for us to see if we can find any confirmation one way or the other. Okay? Now the Sun is forming an applied conjunction to Chiron here on the reversed wheel. Now this is important to notice again. When two wheels are grounding together in a particular aspects, because these aspects indicate some kind of points of tension which need to be resolved or worked from that point of tension to adjust, particularly with that Chiron, or heal some blockages, okay? Or shift the level of energies, okay? Now, Chiron is related to Virgo and Sagittarius, as we do know, brings into focus 246 rays conditioning Chiron, which together with second ray veiling Jupiter on the Sun would make the second ray primary energy in the line of 246. Okay? So there would be on two levels of the wheel the second ray soul with the second ray personality energies working here also. Because the aspects, as we have seen it, okay, is working in basically on the reversed wheel here. But we're considering the personality wheel with these planets, okay? So, following the aspects, the Sun is semi-square Saturn on the wheel of personality, okay? But this aspect could be working also on the reversed wheel. Again, you see? So that Saturn is becoming the focal point again of that very challenging energy which it represents. Okay? And Saturn is conditioned possibly by the first ray on the personality level. And so the first ray is becoming again the focal point here in the personality field. Conditioning. Okay? When we take the Jupiter veiling by the Sun, as we have already looked at those two rays on the personality level of that Jupiter, being either the 6 or 7, okay, we need to still keep looking, confirming, or thinking it might not be either of them. But, you see, the point is that as we have, so the planets have a mental ray, astral ray, and a physical ray. Okay? From my hypothetical consideration here, I think that the Jupiter could have an astral body ruled by the fourth ray, for example. Okay? Now, coming now further on the reversed, on the ordinary wheel, we have already looked at that Jupiter. Jupiter on the ordinary wheel is not directly involved here, but the retrograde Uranus is in Leo. It is making a trine to the Aries Sun. You see? What is important with this aspect is that both the Sun and Uranus are found in Sagittarian decanates, ruled by Jupiter, which the Sun veils. Okay? So that Jupiter is very important to discover its personality rulership. Okay? And because we are coming now to the Sagittarian energy emphasis, the Sagittarius transmits 3 rays: 4th, 5th, and the 6th. So some confirmation of the 6th ray on the personality level of the Jupiter is possible, more likely than the 7th ray. Okay? You see, the Uranus is retrograde, and it's what I would call separating aspect, moving on the personality level to that Sun. Okay? This is the trine here. But being retrograde, you see, it would move, as we have already discovered when we deal with this disciple, it turns and moves direct, entering further into the Leo, okay, and coming closer to that degree. It means it wouldn't be moving away further but closer to that degree of the sun, which has to be also noted. Okay? When that turning of that Uranus happened, which we did, if you remember, those of you who follow, and the significance of that. But here we are adding a further information to it. Because the sun, you see, is also the dispositor of the Uranus in Leo. Because the sun is ruling Leo on all three levels: personality, soul, and a monad. And in this case, where we are considering a personality, the Jupiter is becoming really powerful through that Sagittarius. So my hypothetical giving a force ray on astral body for Jupiter, it's now a little bit more closer to the possibility, and the sixth ray personality of Jupiter, it's a further confirmation. Okay? That's why I thought it would be very interesting to consider these rays on the levels of the planets themselves. Okay? So Uranus has a possible third ray on personality level, which would link it to the Earth, which is also conditioned by the third ray on personality level as a planet opposite the Sun. Okay? Thus linking Aries with Leo and Libra together, going from there on the ordinary wheel. Okay? From the Sun, from the ascendant, we're taking this line: Earth, Uranus, and the Sun. Now what is interesting though, you see, that Earth is also the soul ruler of Sagittarius. You see what we have here? Two levels meeting here of the soul and personality. And so these aspects and relations would have to be carefully considered. Okay? Because we have the intercepted Sagittarius, the decanates here of the Sagittarian decanates here, very powerfully represented. Okay? Okay. Now, when we take the orthodox ruler of the sun sign, it is Mars, right? Mars, which is conditioned by the sixth ray on its personality level. Okay? So we have a direct relationship to the sixth ray personality through that Mars in this case. Okay? The personality ruler of the sun sign transmitting sixth ray on a personality level is a non-sacred planet, by the way, and Sun is also non-sacred planet. So this is a significant relationship in relation to the sixth ray personality. Okay? And Mars is found in Taurus, which transmits the fourth ray, as we have already considered it before. Now, a Mars dispositor in Taurus, orthodox or personality dispositor is Venus, which rules Taurus, right? And Venus is hypothetically conditioned by the second ray, as we have already seen, on the personality level, as the orthodox ruler of that Taurus, and is found in the sign which transmits second ray, which is Gemini. Because we must be careful that even though Venus is in a powerful soul placement, is the disciple accessing it? Is it working with it, and to what extent? And it is utilized, this Venus, in her life on both levels, the personality and the soul. It's, for example, related to her Kama Manas, this planet in there also, okay? And we noted some of the weaknesses on the second ray on the personality level, right? And it is conjuncting that Mars, okay? So there is a powerful relationship here between the dispositor, being that Venus, on a personality level, okay? So Mars and Venus are linking the Aries, okay, the Taurus, and the Gemini. Now this is a very important triangle emerging here through this relationship of these two planets, okay? It's not only 2, 4, 6 line here, but this line is evident now on the personality level. Before it was evident on the soul level. It means here is the astral line of that astral Buddhic line. There was more the Buddhic line. You see? Because this aspect, particularly here, of this, you know, we have astral body here. In these aspects here. And particularly in the sign of Taurus, linking the energies which deals with desire energy, okay? Which is the solar plexus involvement and the astral plane. Now, we are told that Aries, Taurus, Gemini are, from the standpoint of a disciple and initiate, purely subjective in their effects within the life of these signs, and can only find outer expression in the life of the disciple, and can be consciously directed and controlled in Cancer. Now, isn't that interesting? For this disciple, who was working actually with these issues in her life, okay, to see the soul, particularly in those she loved, in expression, okay? And you see where we find this conjunction? In the 12th house, the Piscean house, which is a subjective area of the inner level of energies, including of the soul on its own plane. Okay? So, Cancer for C.D.P. is conditioning her ascendant as one aspect, expressing of her soul purpose, is to consciously control and direct and bring into outer expression these subjective energies, okay? Particularly those of Taurus, with such a powerful placement of 3 planets. One of them is the sole ruler of that ascendant. And Taurus is related to the second initiation, for which she was so close to taking it. Okay? And utilization of that Gemini on its Venus esoteric placement there, in that intercepted sign of Gemini. Okay? To lift that energy on that level. Okay? So this is giving us a deeper understanding behind a strong, also strong esoteric placement of the Mercury in Aries there, which is the orthodox dispositor of that Venus, because Mercury rules Gemini. Okay? In relation to the higher abstract subplanes of the mental plane from the subjective point of view, to bring them into expression and working on those levels where she was actually building her garden. Okay? We also, I already said that Mars and Sun, not to forget that they are the non-sacred planets, particularly related to that personality ray. Okay? Now, you see, when we have considering the 6th ray, we consider also the 6th ray triangle. As before, we considered the 2nd ray triangle in relation to the 2nd ray soul. Okay? So here we have a 6th ray triangle, which need to be considered on the personality wheel. Okay? Which would be moving in clockwise direction. It means Pisces, Sagittarius, and Virgo are the signs which transmit the 6th ray. And they are conditioned by Jupiter, which rules 2 signs here as a personality ruler. And that is Pisces and Sagittarius. And it is placed in Sagittarius. Okay? And the other planet is Mercury, ruling Virgo. Okay? Now Jupiter, being found in that Sagittarian placement, which we have considered, you see, as a hypothetical energy ruling 6th ray personality of that Jupiter, we are finding now a more stronger confirmation that it is more the 6th ray on that personality level of that Jupiter than the 7th. Okay? because of this powerful involvement of that Jupiter in relation to that 6 ray on the 6 ray triangle. Now in Virgo, here where the Mercury is the personality ruler, it reaches its full power, Mercury, being not only the orthodox or personality ruler, but having its exaltation in Virgo, which on the personality wheel indicates, the development of the, intelligence and of the concrete mind, where the concrete mind is reaching its peak of development and expression, reflected also by the rays 3 and 5, conditioning Mercury possibly on the level of personality and mind. Okay? Because you see, the mind has to be developed and controlled and concentrated, that the soul starts to use it and utilize it, illuminate, okay, which start with the process of the reversed wheel. Okay? Now, the personality dispositor of Mercury in Aries is Mars again. Okay? Which is conditioned by 6 ray on personality level. Okay? And make that opposition to that Jupiter, being now hypothetically strongly conditioned by the 6 ray personality itself, makes this aspect very important. Okay? Because you see, this aspect could be considered from both directions of the wheel also, this opposition. Okay? Particularly that Jupiter is retrograde and moving to Scorpio, eventually forming exact opposition to that Mars on reversed wheel. Okay? And we have already looked at this again, people who you remember from completely different interpretation at that time, but here we see it with the new eyes and a deeper understanding energetically from this ray conditioning these planets. Okay? And so this Mars opposition Jupiter is an important linking aspect between the personality rulers of the 6 ray triangle and Mercury Jupiter and its personality dispositor, the Mars. Okay? So we have this aspect, we coming to understanding of the importance of this aspect, again, on 2 wheels, and as a linking aspect between the personality and soul, race, and energies. Okay? Now, if we would look now for the expression of this 6 ray triangle, Pisces, Sagittarius, and Virgo, which this time is emphasized the intercepted Jupiter as the other second ray triangle was emphasizing more the Pisces. What we see here, that the expression of the energies of the sixth ray triangle is through that Mars-Jupiter relation now in the 6-12 polarity of the intercepted signs, which complete the mutable cross and which synthesize both wheels. Through that aspect primarily and through the intercepted polarity of the signs. Okay? Now, how we are with time, BL, because I don't want to start on a new topic.
Now would be a good time to stop on this topic and open it up to questions. You've been at it for 1 hour and 50 minutes. So
thank you. So what I would say that, you know, the subject is enormous. And what we touched upon today is a new look at the energetic levels, okay? And we didn't go into depths of it, just indicating the process. And on the following webinar, which is coming in February, we will continue this process. Okay? So the floor is open to any comments or questions.
okay, Suzanne asked a question earlier, and I'm going to unmute her. Go ahead and ask your question, Suzanne.
Yes, Elena, I was just wondering how you figure the peak point of a triangle in certain circumstances. I was confused about that. You mentioned the peak point of a
yes,
triangle.
Because when we considering when we considering any triangle, it is there is no chakra, okay, no rays working by themselves. There is always a triangle of energies which is in constant movement, okay? And we need to always discover what in that particular life for a disciple is the energy on that peak of that triangle, you see? But at the same time, not dismissing the other two energies of that triangle, but the focal point would be that peak. And you see, through the process which we followed now, through the race and the wheels turning, we have naturally arrived, okay, to this peak of that triangle. I don't know if that is sufficient for you to, you know, or you have some further question to it or comment.
It sounds as though then you were referring to the process, not necessarily all triangles. The process in this case. Okay, thank you.
Yes, because you see, you see, if we were just to look at the chart and ask ourselves a question, is this triangle manifesting in this chart? We would not see it. We would not see it. We would need to have already some knowledge about these triangular energies to the triangle of the rays energies, like the second ray or sixth ray triangles, and so on. And this would lead us then to that peak of that triangle, you see? Because by pure look at the chart, we wouldn't see it directly, okay? And actually, I see it for the first time consciously, directly, myself, okay?
Thank
So
you.
we require also not only a knowledge, but some kind of intuitive insight into the process. Without intuition involvement, knowledge, you see, is not sufficient. And that's why, as esoteric astrologists, esoteric psychologists, esoteric healers, we would need to have something more than a knowledge, which is fundamentally fifth ray. Okay? Factual knowledge. We need a wisdom, and that is Buddhi. And that's why this disciple needed, you see, she already had some intuition and going towards it into more fuller expression. Okay, but she had to deal with her astral energies first. Okay. Any more?
Yes. First up is Eva and then Jeff. Go ahead, please, Eva.
Hi, Elena, and thank you very much for another full webinar.
It's good to hear you, Eva. Thank you for being here.
Okay, my question. When there is only one ray given for either a planet or a sign, following the way evolution is, can we not conclude that that one ray would represent the personality ray?
Not necessarily. No, I would not go completely with that idea. You see, because as we've seen here, the direction of the wheels, you see, merging together with the strengths and weaknesses of those rays. That's why the ray energies conditioning the levels of the planets themselves are adding a deeper understanding, you see, towards the quality expressions which are modified primarily by the level of consciousness of the disciple, the stage of the path, and the initiatory process, you see, fundamentally.
I hear you. So, for example, ray 3 is given to us for Saturn, and it's the only ray that we have been given by DK. Now, I have concluded that there's a first ray quality to Saturn, but I would have thought that that would have been a soul quality, and you made mention, for example, that it is in the personality.
Because the soul ray of Saturn is the third ray. It's a sacred planet.
So it's not a personality ray for Saturn. It's a soul ray, the third.
Yes, yes. You see, when we take the also the mass, for example, there is a sixth ray personality because it's a non-sacred planet, but the soul ray is the first ray on a higher level. You see?
Okay, and then for Uranus, for example, we're given the seventh ray, and you make mention of the third ray. So would the seventh ray then be a soul ray because it's a sacred?
Yes. Seventh ray is a soul ray of Uranus, and Uranus has a powerful 3-5 rays from the highest to the levels of the monadic to the lower personality fields of energies. You see?
Okay, so I'm leaving this now, understanding that if it's a sacred planet, the ray that we're given then represents the soul. If it's a non-sacred planet, the ray that we're given would represent the personality. Is that right?
Well, yes and no, you see? Because everything is modified according as we have followed the aspects formed in both directions from different levels. The energies are being modified, you see? So we cannot, like with the triangle, we cannot take, one level of energy for anything. It is also always a combination of energies. And that's why to make a judgment, we cannot make it from purely one level. Okay?
Okay. All right. So so when I read it in the text, it doesn't mean anything really, because we don't know what level he's talking about really.
Well, Eva, he's giving us a lot of hints and clues to these levels. Okay? It means when we have a sign which is ruled, let's say, by 3 rays or 2 rays and 1 ray, we have to figure out the other 2 rays because they have to be 3.
Right, and that's what I have been working on. So for example, we talked about Saturn, but okay, let's look at Libra. Libra, we're only given 1 ray. 1 ray for Libra. So with that, do I assume that it's the personality ray or is it the soul ray?
Well, as we have learned, what are the ruling planet of Venus, which is the personality ruler of Libra? You remember what the rays we looked at?
Yes,
we looked at the rays 2,
5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
You see? Then if we look at the soul ruler of Libra, we have Uranus. And Uranus, we have a powerful, more 1, 3, 5, 7 rays. As with Venus, we have more 2, 4, 6 line of rays. You see?
Right.
So when we are looking for the other 2 rays on Libra transmission, beside the third ray, which is powerfully represented by Uranus there, by the way, okay, on its level, there is a second ray, very powerful, which could be another ray going through Libra, for example, okay? And there could be also either 5 or 4th ray. Okay. You see? So this is why looking at the different ray conditioning of the planets are indicating also the ray transmission through the signs they rule.
I agree with that. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All it's done is create greater confusion in the mind, but which is fine.
Well,
okay.
the confusion happen, you see, when there is a motive in the mind to identify something, to extract something and separate it from everything else. And then when other things start to be added, the confusion starts because to synthesize different levels, it has to be a direct, pure reason or intuition coming into the process, not analytical mind, because there confusion happen. You see? Okay. And that's why it is so difficult, you see, going through all these different levels and now try to, the mind is boggled here because, everything it's, it's so unclear. But it is very clear, when the analytical mind is coming with the illumined Buddhic plane, not even so much even from the soul here, you see? And this is the problem which is for all of us. We are working towards that, to finally synthesizing all these parts of different levels of energies into one whole picture. You see?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now for Jeff. Please go ahead, Jeff.
Hi, Elena.
Hi, Jeff. Okay? I am fine. Good to see you here.
Great to be here, of course, yeah. Now, I was just wanting to make a comment about this particular disciple in particular, because when you read through the instructions, one of the questions that arises is, why would a master pick this particular disciple to participate in this group, at such an important time, given, the series of failures to this point? And he would, of course, been aware of all of this.
Yes.
And he chose her to participate, and that it seems, like even, despite these wonderful qualities that she had, the experiment ends in failure. In other words, she does not rise to the particular pinnacle that was chosen by the soul for that incarnation, and even exits early at the age of 64. But of course, the master's vision and scope extends into future incarnations, and her role, it seems, is in particular related more to the future. Of course, she has all of that capacity for compassionate understanding of the path of attachment and learning the lessons of detachment, which of course are invaluable in the group, aren't they?
Yes.
But to me, she's given the bridging work of bridging within the new group of world servers, of bridging the Piscean teaching into the Aquarian, with the role of the visualization of the garden, which is a more mystical approach to the work of the Antakarana. And I think that that's really is containing her particular soul purpose there, this bridging work, all right?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes, I understand. Can I make a comment to this, what you said?
I'm hoping you will.
You see, Master DK, also, he never does anything for very good reason, you see. He wouldn't waste his energy.
No.
And he always chooses a disciple to share and give us an information invaluable information from which we learn something new. Okay? And this disciple, you see, it's a fascinating chart, energetically speaking, where the energies just flow together in such a beautiful way. And he is giving us one important number of important information here. How a disciple who is so advanced subjectively, not expressing fully or recognizing that what she is, okay? And the symbology, and another thing, how a disciple can fail 4 lives, and giving us a clear message that not to judge quickly people where they are in their process, because we are not able to see it as the master can see it. Okay? And in those places where he indicates, well, this level, it can be passed in 2 lives or whatever. That is purely informative, but not realistic, you see?
Yeah.
Because it varies from a disciple to disciple. Okay? And to have such a power on 3 levels, there was only one other disciple who had the same ray on 3 levels, and it was a first ray, and that was, this, what is it called? You remember him? Oh, what was his name? I'm trying to. Who was to take the second initiation in that life and failed to do so. Also failure. You see? Because when you have such a power on 3 levels, and to cope with that, it's not easy. It's not easy. And that disciple also had a second ray soul, transferring from 6 to 2, and having 3 levels of a first ray energies, and failing to take the same initiation as this disciple was ready to take, and she needed the most difficult point to develop detachment. Okay? So, that's why, he is choosing these people to share this information in a really more practical and energetic processes of these disciples. Okay?
Yeah. It's fascinating.
And I don't know if you followed the garden when we dealt through the webinars of the garden.
Yeah.
It is a symbological language of that garden, okay? Which one need to know the rays and the planets involved, and all the petals of the egoic lotus, which were the real flower. This was the real flower in that garden, you see?
Yes. Yes.
And all the wheels of that egoic lotus, the beauty, the colors, and the bees, the turning chakra wheels, that was all in that garden. But, one needs to, access that energetically, you see, in order to really understand the garden symbol. presented there, you see. So she was the only one, you know, who created this sort of symbological subjective area on the higher mental planes where all the disciple could enter in, you know, in that inner poise of a meditative, you know, energy and healing process.
Yes, yes, because I see that as a bridging, linking, subjective station of light of building the Antakarana, and I gather that as we come into the New Age, many aspirants will enter that work via that system. We already have that, but it doesn't have the scientific kind of quality to it that she brought with her fifth ray mind.
Yes.
In terms of those specifics. So, of course, as you say, we're clothed in the symbolical language, but I gather that, you know, she will head the next life, you know, next life. I see that be a quite a power.
I have, my perception is, you know, she could come with a strong Cancer sign energy. It could be even the same ascendant, you know.
Okay.
Because she has so much to deal with that in relation to her family issues, in her, you know, astral Buddhic energies, that sign, you know, has to be strongly represented because she has to deal with the same energies, you see. And, you know, ascending sign is a future energy direction, okay, which can be used not only in one life, okay, and she would have still the second ray soul, okay. So this is just my perception, you know, that
well, the last instruction was August 1940, and at the end of it, they say that 4 months later, this disciple went forth, well, passed over, died. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means she's died in the month of either Scorpio or Sagittarius.
I have exact date of her birth.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to go into it, but it was not in the 4 months exactly, as he is generalizing there. But BL, through her ancestry research, found out the date of her birth.
Okay.
Her death.
Okay.
Her death.
Her death. Her death.
Okay. I'd like to get that sometime.
Well, you've got all the opportunity now, you know. Where?
I do. Thank you, Elena.
You're welcome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Very valuable. Very valuable.
And we have one more question from Suzanne. Here, let me open the floor to her. Go ahead, please, Suzanne.
Yes, Elena. Having unfortunately missed many of your earlier webinars, I wonder if you would have time to give a possible quick comment on your esoteric interpretation of intercepted planets or nodes in a house, or maybe direct me to somewhere that I could do my research. Thank you. And thanks so much for your offering.
Elena, are you there?
Well, Susan, I will keep it in mind, but you know I am following the instructions. And if there would come a relation directly to these intercepted signs, obviously I would follow it up. But it is always recommended, by all those who missed the previous webinars to go back to them and listen carefully to what is being said there and try to think for, you know, for yourselves and bring some new insight and share them with the group. Because this is a group work, you see. and I am sharing some of my perception with the group. Okay, so everybody, you know, is welcome to make comments and their own understanding, because everything could be, you know, valuable.
I just brought it up because you did mention them today. That's the only reason I brought them up. You mentioned it in relation to this disciple, but thank you.
Suzanne?
Thank you, Susan.
I wanted to let you know that we do have a brief synopsis of each webinar. When you go to the, you know, the web page where the webinars are. So there is that. And then I also wanted to say that Eva Smith and I are also doing a webinar series on esoteric astrology, and we do cover both the nodes and interceptions. Hold on. In that series, and I'm dying here.
Yes, I attended Eva's first one. Thank you. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say they're there, so, okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Okay, well, I don't see any more comments or questions, so, oops, hold on. Go ahead, please, Tuya.
Hey, hello, everybody, and Elena.
Oh,
Elena.
My goodness me! Where did you spring from the heaven?
Yes, right now. Elena, how the failure is defined? You were pointing out, yes, you were pointing out about these two disciples. Did Master D.K. say it, or how it is defined?
Yes, directly he says so. Yes, it is not like my own saying failure. In her almost last instruction prior to her death, you know, as she was approaching it, you know, he said directly, you have failed to fulfill your soul purpose. Okay. And by that, you know, he is telling us, for us, you know, to arrive at following it through the rays and astrology, how this could happen. And in today's webinars, we have seen some of the indication of that failure. Where the two wheels are grounding against each other energetically, okay, from the soul and personality level, where she had to utilize the soul energy to deal with that, you see? And to what extent she was doing it, but not enough, you see? Because of the powerful 6-ray force on her personality levels, you see, which he says that her second ray soul power was sufficient enough to deal with it. She did not utilize it. You see, and that's behind the failure. You see. And that's why, you know, she could have done so. She is so she was so close to the second initiation. She was almost, you know, reaching even beyond that. You know, like the pure reason he indicates, the intuition in her. You know, and you know, this is, you know, Alice Bailey had a similar problem with the 6th ray herself, you know, and her relationship to her children. So
yeah, and even though, you know, the 6th ray would be in this when we think about which rays are responding to which initiation, so 6th ray would be in that sense helping to go the second initiation. That's interesting.
but in its strength, the power of the strength of the sixth ray, not the personality, the soul. You see?
Right.
The soul
Right.
level, yes, yes, because it rules the second initiation, as you say.
Yeah,
know?
very interesting. Yeah.
But because
Yes,
it's
to study that.
conditioning, yeah, because it's conditioning the personality levels here, you see?
Right.
That is the very difficult, you know, even he says there, the power, it's just, that's her problem. That was her problem, you know?
Well, thank you anyway, Elena. It's very interesting.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Even me,
your
I
thoughts.
was following.
Even you.
Right.
Well, I am so happy, you know, that you found the time in your busy schedule also.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that's all the questions and everything. So thank you very much, Elena. Thank you for everyone who participated. And good night, good day, good morning, everyone.
Thank you for
Bye.
everybody. And
Thank you.
for my supporting team, BL, Joe, Brett. Thank you, everybody. And see you next time.